Hello, I'm Josh,
And I'm Cam.
and this is
Vaping and Baking.
Welcome back to another episode of Vaping and Baking.
Hello.
This week we have got a peach and raspberry sponge dessert, as you can see here.
Which looks
Now,
delicious.
I don't really go for Great British Bake Off style presentation, but I go for flavour, so that's where we're going. So it may not look great, but it's going to taste great, I hope.
It's going to be a great bake.
And so we've got two different liquids to bring you this week from the Ace of Vapes Fine E-Liquid, which are in these two 10ml bottles. They're 3ml nicotine levels, and we've got a...
So we have a Rasbrulee, which
Yeah.
is this one. And then we have Mallow Berry.
So not really too sure what these are going to taste like, but we're hoping that they're going to pair quite nicely. I was kind of going on the raspberry berry type when we picked these up.
I think they should do. They should do.
Absolutely.
Well, should we find out? Let's have a
Yeah.
bite of cake.
Let's go for it. So you want to try and make sure that you get a bit of each component in a spoonful.
Masterclass on how to eat cake.
And that's really good. So you've got the
Oh, it's
sweetness
amazing, yeah.
of the icing on the top through the cake, and then there's a slight tartiness, sourness to the fruit, which is really good.
I think that's quite important because it gives you a bit of a bite. And I mean, the sponge is lovely. It's kind of like, it's so light and like airy, especially with the kind of the lovely cream on top.
So this is, again, is really, really easy. All I've done here is stewed off some peaches with some raspberries, bit of maple syrup, small amount of brown sugar. I've then strained that off, so I've got the juice to one side, line a baking tray with the fruit, and then the sponge goes on top, and that's just 100 grams of sugar, 100 grams of butter, mix in 2 eggs, 100 grams of flour, mix that all up, and then the sponge goes on top. And that was baked at 150 for about 20 minutes, but I regularly check it as I go. So I think it came just over 20 minutes. And then the icing on the top is just whipping cream with a bit of icing sugar whipped up really, really well. And then the juice that I put to one side earlier is then mixed in with that. So we've then got a bit of a raspberry peach cream going on top.
Not the vape juice though.
Not the vape juice.
Oh, yeah.
This is the cake purely.
Okay.
And it's, yeah, I've never done this before.
I'm a fan. I think it's lovely, mate. I love a sponge. It looks like they're quite homely, you know.
It is, yeah.
Summery as well.
Yeah, which is
Like,
perfect for we're in summer.
Yeah, we are indeed. All right. Well, should we try some vape alongside it?
Absolutely. Let's go for it.
Okay, so you're vaping the Mallow Berry. How is it?
That's good. That's it's really, really mellow, and I'm just trying to work out what it is in there.
Oh yeah, it's got a really familiar smell to it actually.
There's like a summer berries kind of.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say you can smell it. There is.
Yeah.
There's that kind of like stewed fruit.
It is.
Kind of
That's
smell,
it.
isn't it?
That's
Yeah,
exactly
it's
it. So it
stewed
is.
fruit.
It's a stewed fruit kind of flavour, and that's so nice. That's so mellow. Do you want to try?
Yeah,
try a bit.
Let's try it. Let's find out what this is like. It's quite earthy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh wow, it's nectarines.
Is that what it is?
Well, that's the taste that I'm getting
Yeah.
anyway. It's like kind of, you know, nectarines off a tree, you know, sitting in the sun.
Oh mate, that's great. And I'm again rocking the Aspire Dynamo box mod with the Vanny Vape Pulse RDA on top.
All right, so
That's the
So this is the
Rasbrulee.
Rasbrulee. All right, okay. So well, maybe let's predict what it might be like. It might be a bit like kind of like creme brulee. Like maybe there'll be a slight burnt edge to it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So maybe it might hit where the cake's going as well. Let's see.
But I think that first one actually pairs with that cake really, really well. What do you think?
They're quite similar.
They are
actually in taste, but that is definitely like a raspberry-based version. It's still got that slight burnt, like earthiness to it.
Yeah, it's kind of a creamy raspberry.
Yeah, there is something. Yeah, and I
it.
suppose that creaminess goes really nicely with the creaminess of the cake.
And one of the things that we wanted to talk about on this episode is, so we're using these 10ml bottles, and which is one of our issues really. So obviously when we both used to smoke, if there are available cigarette bins around, then I'd obviously chuck my cigarette butt in there. But there's often when you're out and about, walking somewhere, going out somewhere, or you're driving where you don't necessarily have a cigarette bin
and you just get
to
used
hand,
to
and you just chuck it out the window, or you just chuck it on the floor, and that has a huge environmental impact. Obviously, you're clogging up walkways.
Absolutely, and I mean it has like a kind of the visual impact as well.
Yeah.
It looks dirty, but then at the same time, tests have been done to say that like cigarette butts, the toxic chemicals that kind of leak from them, that are all absorbed into your filter as you're smoking, then go into the ground, and they can prevent germination in plants, and they can kind of kill off areas of growth. So it's something that we've got to be conscious of. And like if you're smoking kind of upwards of 3 cigarettes a day, that's a big impact each day on the environment around you. Whether you see that impact or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I suppose then that makes the bottles slightly better because we're not just chucking these kind of. So,
but that's the other thing as well. So with these bottles, you've got all kinds of little bits. You've got these little hoops that kind of come off when you've opened it up, when you've broken the seal on it, and so when that comes off, you've then got this loop. You've got the lids. You've got the small bottles, and essentially, if you're using one of these bottles a week, all year round, that's 52 bottles a year. And then if you're vaping for however many years, that's a lot of these bottles. And if you're just chucking those away in regular landfill bins, then that's kind of not really much better.
No, absolutely not.
So these bottles can be recycled. So as long as you've rinsed them out, and if you put the effort in, these can be so much more environmentally friendly. Rinse them out, chuck them in your recycling bin, and away you go. But
then another option.
There is another option.
Is a company in Essex that will pay you, right?
Yeah, so it's a company called Vape and Juice, and we were looking on their blog this week, and they basically pay you, they give you money and points towards new e-juices for all of these that you send back. So I think for these small 10ml bottles, I might be wrong, I think it's about 5p a bottle, and then for 50 and 100ml short fill bottles, it goes up to about 10p.
Okay.
It may not sound like a lot, but
it builds up quite quickly, and it
also
is something, like they're then way more likely to reuse these bottles, which
Absolutely,
is the key thing. Plastic isn't going anywhere. Recycling plastic, you've got to put fresh plastic in there and new chemicals in order to make it durable enough to hold together, because it gets more brittle. So being able to just physically reuse them is a far more environmentally friendly way of doing things.
And I think there definitely has to be more promotion of these types of schemes. There needs to be more of these schemes out there, really.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think,
and then maybe we can, because plastic right now is the thing that we all use.
Yeah.
It's the thing that our world kind of generates and seems to run itself with. Maybe that'll change quite soon with different kind of like consciousness, with people's kind of awareness of environmentalism spreading. Yeah. I think it's really important to recognise that there are other materials these could be made out of.
For sure, there are some vaping companies that actually make these out of glass bottles with small pipettes.
Like pipette-style things.
And they're great.
Again, that's brilliant.
Because they're recyclable.
And you use a piece of technology that's already there,
Absolutely.
So...
And actually, so at home, we are currently trying to live as a zero-waste household. My biggest sticking point, these bad boys, going out and buying new liquids and stuff, it's just a pain in the arse.
Yeah. And that whole feeling that you get from going, right, I'm not smoking anymore, I'm not buying a pack of tobacco, I'm not buying lighters, all of those things. I'm buying little plastic bowls. You know, like it gives you a little kind of like, oh no, this isn't good. You know, but there are ways to make it good. We have to believe, as a kind of community, as a world, we have to believe that we can do this, that we can make a sustainable environment to live in, and it's doable.
And there's also one more way that you can go about being environmentally friendly as well. And pre-made e-liquids kind of come with a small premium. They are good quality e-liquids. These two that we're trying out today are absolutely fantastic.
They're gorgeous, yeah.
And you can make your own juices at home, which you can, if you've got an empty 100ml bottle, 50ml bottle, or even these small 10ml bottles, you can make your own e-liquids at home. They're so easy. There's so many different websites out there that can show you how to do them. There's so many YouTube tutorials on how to make your own e-liquid. And I do this at home. And it's just a really fun process as well. Yeah, it's great fun. Nice.
I think, you know, maybe that's where part of the impact that we have on the world right now is the fact that we're kind of disconnected with all the processes that bring us the things we're made. Things like, you know, a mug. Most people don't know necessarily how to make a mug or something like that. Yeah. You know, and over the course of this year, I've done quite a bit of pottery, and you can see that in the teapot that we're drinking from. But in doing so, you know, you connect to that kind of like organic process, and you start breaking down the steps, and you go, okay, well, maybe it doesn't need this bit, or it does need this bit. And we can do the same with vape juice bottles, essentially. You know, like glass is an option, tin could be an option. There are so many chances out there, but it's just about us looking at the process and saying, okay, how does this work?
Yeah. And
taking risks.
Absolutely. And the other thing about making your own e-liquids is that you can make them completely tailor them to your own tastes.
Yeah.
So you can get refills online, flavour concentrates, and they last so long because you only need like a couple of mil per
that's it.
bottle of whatever.
And if you're buying in bigger bottles, then that gives you more opportunity to reuse them. Yeah, you might have a couple of these hanging around, but then these are maybe, you know, your weekly kind of, you can measure the amount of vape juice that you're using in the same way that you can measure quite comfortably how many cigarettes you've smoked in a day, and like, wow.
And also, if you're going to empty e-liquid, so say if you've got an e-liquid that you don't like, don't just throw it away. Give it to a friend. Find someone who also vapes, and either give it to them or just say, "Can you chuck me a few pennies towards this bottle, or whatever?"
Yeah.
Don't pour e-liquid down the sink or just on the ground, because that then gets into our waterways. That then pollutes the ground. Animals, wildlife can come along and poison themselves, essentially. And so if you are going to empty these out, empty it onto something that will absorb it. Tissue paper, cat litter, anything that has absorption sort of properties to it.
Yeah.
And then you can then chuck it in the bin.
Somewhere responsible. And I think a really good trick actually that Josh just showed me, that if you'd like to show us again on film, if you fill up your vape with something and you're smoking it and you think, ooh, maybe this isn't quite right for the moment, and you want to change it, you know, for me, I was kind of battling with the fact that then, what do you do? Do you throw that away? Do you waste it? Not necessarily. So, would you go to do the honours?
If you've got a device like this where the top can come off or the bottom can come off, basically any device where you don't have to completely take it apart and spill liquid everywhere, just screw that top off. You've got the bottle that the juice came from, so we've got the Rasbrulee bottle here. Just give that a little squeeze, like that, in there, and you just suck that up, just like a syringe, like really.
Like a pipette or syringe, yeah.
Absolutely. And here I am dripping it everywhere, and it went horribly wrong then. But it's a really easy process.
The example is that I suppose it's a full bottle, isn't it?
It's a full bottle, so it's a bit harder. But if you've got sort of a bottle that you're halfway down, then it's a lot easier and a lot better to do. But yeah, and then you can just screw that bad boy back on, open up your fill port, and then you can just stick another juice in there.
Yeah,
and away you
whatever
go.
You like.
And then you're not chucking away juice. You're reserving it and saving it for later.
And that's it. And you know, maybe that time will come later when you go, that's the flavour I need, or maybe it won't, and you give it to a friend. But
absolutely,
the important thing is we keep it going.
Absolutely. And until next time, we've brought you some great bakes and some great
vapes.
Absolutely. Tune in next week. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye for now.
Bye.